Hey, I'm Cindy, and this is Care for Them, Care for You, my real life caregiving journey. Zero fluff and a whole lot of I didn't sign up for this honesty, plus some survival tricks I'm figuring out as I go. Okay, so here's the deal. If you're looking for color coded productivity, you've clicked the wrong video. What you will get here is real life caregiving, messy days, and tiny things I do so I don't fall apart. Consider this my ranting TED Talk, where nothing is made up. And the words do matter, because if you're caring for everyone else, somebody should be caring for you. This is episode 3, System Failure. Today I'm talking about the years the school district almost broke my autistic kid and how we had to pull him out to keep him safe. If you've ever had that gut feeling like, this can't be how it's supposed to work, you are absolutely my people. Let me tell you what happened in my son's 3rd grade and middle school years. You can decide for yourself if this sounds like the system's working. During his elementary school years, the home school near us broke the elementary into kindergarten through 2nd grades in one building and 3rd through 5th grades in another building, which was down the road close to the county highway. 2nd grade had gone well because my son's caseworker understood him. 3rd grade was another story. My son has always struggled with eloping. No, not running off to Vegas to get married. In the autism world, it means bolting, walking, running away from where they're supposed to be. My son doesn't automatically notice danger, especially cars. When he elopes, we're not talking about a kid skipping class. We're talking about a real safety emergency. The special needs professionals in this new building were really struggling to handle my son's behaviors. They ended up reducing him down to half days. He was thrilled. He thought he was getting more mom time. When I talked to the principal, I asked how I was supposed to work if my son was only doing half days. The principal responded that I should sit my son down and explain to him, an 8-year-old with poor executive decision-making, that his behavior was affecting my ability to work. What is executive decision-making? It's the part of the brain that helps you plan, remember steps, switch tasks, and stop yourself from doing something unsafe. My son's executive decision-making is different. Noticing cars, remembering the rules, stop yourself, change course, and understanding how behaviors affect others is not automatic for the way it might be for your kid. He didn't understand that when he was sent home, it meant I couldn't work or build stability. He didn't break my ability to work. The system did, and then tried to make me explain that to my child. The icing on the cake was when, despite knowing my son's shortfalls and needs and his history of eloping, they allowed him to walk out of the school, onto a neighboring golf course, into a golf cart, and then to walk along the county highway. If your mouth is hanging open right now, congrats. You already understand this better than the school did. That was my line. That's when I brought in an advocate. We pushed for a different placement, and he was moved to a center-based program at another school. And here's the wild part. With a teacher who understood him and a program built for kids like him, he thrived. His teacher even helped push for a one-on-one because of his elopements. Hold on to that point. We'll come back around in the middle school part of the episode. So this was the same kid, different environment, totally different outcome. So fast forward to middle school, where they put him in an effective needs center-based program. This program was specifically said to be a program that helps with autism spectrum disorder, serious emotional disability, and other health impairments. 6th grade went off without too much of a hitch. The only eyebrow-raising thing was the previous teacher of the room was retiring, and a new person was coming in. That new teacher ended up being my eldest daughter's preschool teacher from the year before. 7th grade was a brand new horror show. We watched as a peer in my son's classroom got into a huge pickle. Kiddo got the off-duty police officer called on him. He was arrested, went through a huge court ordeal, and was traumatized like nobody's business. I can't get into the details of this story because it's not mine to tell. What I need you to know is this classroom was a pressure cooker, and my kid was sitting in the middle of it. My son had an issue not too long after all of that where, in front of the professionals in the room, he eloped out the back door. This ended up being discussed in a meeting where they started to try to paint my son as the bad guy. A paraeducator in the meeting told a story about my son pushing her down into a chair. We talked about the elopement. I asked in the meeting, in an email, and in a text, can we please get him a one-on-one like he had in 3rd grade? Because of his elopement. Nothing. My request was never acknowledged. About a week later, it was decided he was fine to go alone down the hall to the bathroom. That is the day he eloped further than he ever has. That day, I got a phone call from the school, and I had no idea how bad it actually was. I was told I needed to come pick up my son from school. I asked why, and they told me that that would be discussed when I got there. Once I got there, they ushered me into a meeting room where they told me my son had eloped again. They told me he was allowed to go to the bathroom unsupervised and never returned to class. When he didn't return, they sent someone to the bathroom to find him. He wasn't there, so they sent out the cavalry to find him. The cavalry included office administration looking over security video to track him. I was hearing this in real time. No one told me that they were looking for him or watching security cameras to find him when they called me. In the video, they watched as he exited the bathroom, headed down the hall towards the classroom, actively scripting, which scripting is verbal and physical acting out of a show that he's watched. He saw a gym class across the way, going out the side door. He followed them out. The class went to the back side of the school, and he turned the opposite way to go to the front. While in front of the school, he crossed in front of a moving vehicle and proceeded off campus. They sent a security guard out in that direction, and they didn't find him until he was about a mile away from the school. When they asked him why he'd left, he mentioned he wanted to go home. I took my son home, got a phone call from the principal almost immediately. The principal explained my son was suspended for a day. I told the principal it didn't make sense to me. He was getting a day off from school when he wanted to go home. I asked if they had in-school suspension. I was told they didn't do that anymore. The principal then explained that their hope was that I would help make this suspension to feel more like a punishment. So the plan was my autistic kid gets a day off because he wanted to go home, and I'm supposed to help turn that into a punishment? This whole incident was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was done trusting they knew how to keep him safe. I was told we would have to have another meeting to return to school. I went to that meeting. We talked about how his IEP, or individual education plan, and behavioral plan needed to be reevaluated, which meant testing. He went back to school to have the tests. They went over the test scores with me, which didn't change from what he had already needed. I asked about a placement in the Significant Support Needs Center-based program, which helps those who are behind in academics. They said he didn't qualify. This whole thing befuddled me. The current center base was not a good fit, and I was told the other center base wasn't a fit either. So I asked for third-party testing or having outside providers that would administer and score my son's tests. This resulted with an ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and an IDD, or intellectual and developmental disability labels. During this time, I was also demanding a new school placement. I was not feeling safe with the current one. They gave me other schools to tour and said that they would do a hybrid of the two center-based programs. I kept wondering, how do two wrong programs make a right? I toured 3 different schools, but I was jaded. I didn't see how any of these options were going to be the fix to the problem. Then an opportunity came up. A woman who was the owner of a special needs school reached out to me. I toured the school. Its professionals almost numbered a one-on-one situation. It had a little chicken coop for hands-on learning experiences, and behavioral therapy was mixed into the lessons. It felt perfect. I just didn't know how I was going to pay for it. The school owner referred me to a lawyer that other parents had used. I reached out to the lawyer and set up a consultation. The lawyer willingly sent an email to the district stating our demands for them for an out-of-district placement, or we would proceed with court. The email fell on deaf ears, and a friend suggested I start going to food banks so I could use the money I spent on food to pay for the lawyer. Then a miracle happened. The lawyer called and said an anonymous person would pay for my bill. This changed the game, and the lawyer was able to go to school meetings. The district's tune changed, and they gave the availability for an out-of-district placement of my choosing. I chose the private school I had toured with the behavioral therapy and the chickens. The difference was night and day. My son was no longer able to elope off a school property. The first time they caught him just outside the school door. The next few times, they caught him inside of the school. Pretty soon, they knew his pattern and started offering him alternatives. He eloped less and less. I started seeing other behaviors get better too. Just before I took my son out of the district school, I tried to warn the grandmother of one of my son's peers. I told her to be careful that the school was discriminatively coming after our kids in the affective needs classroom. She told me she wasn't worried, that the school was doing their best by her grandson. That poor kid ended up having his own story at that school, ended up with going to court too. The only difference between my son and the kids that ended up in court is that I had just enough information and just enough fight left. That shouldn't be what saves a child. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking and subscribing to me. This is care for them, care for you. Don't forget, caretakers are a part of the plan.